We begin with breaking news, and it's from Cambridge as tensions are rising at MIT and Harvard's campuses. Thanks for staying up with us. I'm Glenn Jones.
And I'm Priscilla Casper. This all coming as both schools are threatening a crackdown on pro-Palestinian encampments. Now, tonight, the demonstrations are going beyond the site of those tents. Demonstrators marched to the Harvard University president's house. There was also a rally on the steps of MIT's school's main entrance.
We have live and TV coverage tonight tracking both demonstrations. We begin at MIT with NBC 10's Michael Rosenfield.
Glenn, students here at this tent encampment at MIT were told to abandon this area by 2:30 this afternoon. Most of them did that, but then a few hours later, a couple of hundred students came storming right back, toppling over all of those metal barriers and gathering once again. MIT students were told by school leaders to leave the tent encampment by 2:30 Monday afternoon or face suspension. Most left, but then this happened a few hours later. Pro-Palestinian students tore down the metal gates that had been set up around the tents and reclaimed the center of campus.
The people are speaking. This is the people speaking right here, forming a ring around everything. This is a spontaneous thing that the people do because the people know that our message is right. On Mass Ave, dozens of high school students took over the street, closing down the busy roadway for several hours. From schools in Boston to the suburbs, they showed up to support the pro-Palestinian protesters at MIT.
In history class, we're always taught about how student activism is kind of at the forefront for these pivotal moments in our country's history. Many Jewish students at MIT, some of whom held their own rallies Monday, say they're disgusted by the chants at the pro-Palestinian protests, which they consider anti-Semitic.
So they're anti-Western values, they're anti-democracy, they're anti-freedom.
They say the encampment should never have been allowed because they violate MIT's policy, and school leaders have failed to protect Jewish students. And they say the protesters have failed to accomplish their goals.
The moment they start doing illegal things or doing encampments or sit-downs in the middle of the road, what do they get with this? Nothing.
Pro-Palestinian demonstrators across the country who are calling on their schools to end any financial dealings with Israel's military say they are standing up for what they believe in.
Our stance is the same as it's always been. We still want to cut direct research ties with the Israeli Ministry of Defense.
MIT telling us tonight that a lot of work still needs to be done to resolve this situation, but they say no arrests were made out here today. We're live in Cambridge. Michael Rosenfield, NBC 10 Boston.
All right, Michael, thank you. Our team coverage continues with NBC 10's Aaron Logan live on the campus of Harvard University.
Aaron, we know the school's president threatened to put students camping on Harvard Yard on involuntary leave, and tonight demonstrators responded, going to the home of the president.
Glenn and Priscilla, that is right. They actually started here at this gate outside the encampments with some pretty powerful words. Then they made their way roughly a half a mile to the interim president's home, but he was not there. The large group of both students and supporters did not mince words, expressing their feelings. This Harvard University student refugee from Gaza shouting that message to the university's interim president, Alan Garber. Her message prompted by a letter sent out Monday morning that any student continuing these encampments will be placed on involuntary leave. This means they can't take exams, live in campus housing, or return until they're reinstated.
They're trying to scare us with suspension, threats of suspension. It's not going to work. We understand now what's happening in Palestine is way worse than anything that could happen to us.
These students and others who've been sleeping in these encampments for nearly 2 weeks say it's been tough, but a walk in the park compared to the horrific conditions described.
The encampment is modeling the world that we want to be in. One that prioritizes care, love, and justice.
However, interim President Garber disagrees, saying he's troubled by reports that encampment supporters have intimidated and harassed members of the community, calling it unacceptable and has no choice but to enforce disciplinary action, saying in a statement, it is not, as some have suggested, a rejection of discussion and debate about the urgent issues that concern the university, the nation, and the world.
From the river to the sea!
The group eventually marched their way to his home, but he wasn't there. The chants. They made it clear they'll be back.
Nothing is administrative!
And back out here live, you can see the encampments are still up here tonight, and the students say they're not taking them down anytime soon until their demands are met, meaning that the university divests from any ties to Israel. Live outside Harvard University, Erin Logan, NBC 10 Boston.
All right, Erin, thank you. Now, in light of these student protests, the Cambridge City Council passed a measure tonight allowing city police officers to intervene, but only as a last resort if those demonstrations turn violent. Up until now, colleges and universities had been relying on the campus police to monitor and address situations involving student protesters. And we caught up with city officials after the vote that were pleased with the outcome.
I think we ended up in a place that not only shows our support for freedom of speech, but also makes sure that we encourage people to be safe and to protest peacefully.